Hi everyone, my name is REDRUP, this is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I'm joined by the band Bears in Trees. The band have just released their new album, How to Build an Ocean Instructions, so we talk all about making that, the messages that are across the record, living in Croydon, and loads more. But first, please consider supporting the podcast by hitting subscribe, following us on social media, leaving a review or a 5-star rating, and if you want to go the extra mile, there's also a Patreon and there's a merch store. You can find everything at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now here's my chat with Bears in Trees. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Bears in Trees. How you doing?
Woo, we're good.
We're good.
Hell yeah. Here's Iain. Big up,
Ian, you made it.
Hello.
Yay! Got 3 quarters now. So yeah, I guess the big news for you is obviously the new album, How to Build an Ocean Instructions. How are you feeling about having that out in the world and, finally having other people enjoy it as opposed to just being something that you guys and close friends and stuff can listen to?
Well, obviously it's like super exciting, but I've always been saying this album's been so long in the making that I think that it's the best thing that we have ever made and could ever make. So having a community ready to listen to it and to be listening to it and enjoying it, and having had made such an amazing piece, in our opinion, obviously, it's already successful. So how the world responds is kind of secondary to how we feel about it.
I can't believe people are listening to it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
because you do get in your own kind of world and you listen to it so many times. I've heard all the tracks a million times, but it's like when everyone hears it again, it's almost like they're all new songs again. Because everyone is discovering the lyrics and the melodies and everything all again. You're like, oh wow, yeah, and people pick up on different things and have seen different things, and you're like, oh, amazing. It's just like
it's always fun when people pick up on things that we didn't even notice as well. I think you're right. Like you get a whole new perspective because we're so sick of these songs. Like some of them we wrote. I'm not sick of them, but we wrote these some of them a year and a half ago. So they're just so ingrained in my brain. And then suddenly as soon as you release it out into the world, you just view it very differently.
Yeah, like you say, it's they're old to you but they're brand new to everyone else, and I guess as soon as they're out there and other people are talking about them, I guess in your own head it's like a new lease of life in a way.
I think so. Yeah, it is almost like giving a song a new life.
It makes it new to us as well again.
Yeah.
So this is the the first release since the 2022 EP, isn't it? Every Moonbeam, Every Fever Dream.
Not quite.
Okay.
We released 3 songs last year.
The little singles.
Standalone singles. Cassiopeia, Bart's Bike and Apathy is Boring. Yes, larger body of work. Yes.
As a body of work. Did those did that EP and also the full length before that, did they in any way inform how you began putting this record together and how you wanted to do things this time around?
I think that with all of that, those were very much moments where we were experimenting with a lot of new sounds and new ideas. We'd never really been on tour before. We were we'd play shows to friends or at uni venues and all this kind of stuff. But we were primarily making music in bedrooms or in small studio spaces and putting them out online. And so when we started touring on the back of I Want to Feel Calm, on the back of Keep Me Safe and Everybody Else Smile Back, it was a whole new world of music that we hadn't really known before, this live sound. So with Every Moonbeam, Every Fever Dream, with How to Stay Shining, which were the 3 singles in 23, they were really us experimenting with new ideas and new sounds that would translate not only our kind of authentic vision into also a live setting. That and also with kind of new equipment and new producers and new sounds and that kind of thing. So with this new record, it very much is the culmination of all that experimentation and all that work. It really brings a lot of that.
I think every movie, Every Fever Dream was the first live album we wrote. I think obviously you didn't record it live, but it's the first album, the first EP we wrote on the back of to be played live. And so then I think that has informed. I think live playing has informed our music more than we ever could have imagined. like being out a touring band. We kind of rose to semi-fame over lockdown, so we didn't play any live shows. So then actually when we did tour and we played shows, we started like, oh crap, we should write music so it sounds great when we play it here.
It changes like the songwriting process and like how you think about a song as you're writing it. You're then imagining it, okay, well, how is this going to translate live as well as, you know, in a recorded version?
And then so I think specifically on How to Build an Ocean, it was how can we make an album which not only is going to sound incredible live, but also translates in the studio. So it was trying to balance both. It was like, I want this album to sound amazing live, but also not hear it live and then be disappointing when you listen to the recordings on Spotify. It needs to stand up both.
I want it to make sense when someone's in their own room listening through their headphones. I want it to make sense when they're at a party with friends jumping around in their kitchen. And I want it to make sense in Coco, London. I want it to make sense in every situation. And that's what the sounds we were exploring with Every Moonbeam and How to Stay Shining Were. And How to Build an Ocean is really a culmination of all of that.
Yeah, I guess you just have all these different perspectives of like how you would approach a song. Like you say, you know, you've got to consider the live setting and have to not only portray it, I guess, accurately live, but also so you can actually get some, you know, participation back from the people that are watching you, whether they're already existing fans or you're trying to bring new ones in.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah.
So you worked with George Perks to produce this one, who's also worked with, for people who don't know, the likes of Shikari, Yumi at Six. What was it like working with him and bringing him on board?
I do not use this word lightly, though I do use it a lot. He was an angel. He was an absolute angel. What was amazing about George Perks, we call him GP because
George is also George.
Doesn't help that used to produce all our old music.
But you can't even go producer George.
It doesn't work. We called George Perks GP, the doctor. Going to see the doctor this morning. No. So GP was amazing because the first time we met him, I don't think we were expecting much, but he heard the demos and he was listing references that we had from the first time we started making music. He was like, oh, I'm really hearing this here and this here that we'd never mentioned to him. He was able to hear the nuance of all the music. And when he was listening to the demos, he was saying like, oh, I can imagine this thing here. And every idea he was coming out with made sense to us and our ethos and the vision we had for the album. It didn't feel like he was putting his own mark on it. He was kind of getting us out the way of ourselves and allowing us to express ourselves in the most authentic way possible.
And those were on scratchy demos.
Really
we were like one take vocal, like one take guitar demos, just like, and he was managing to see the vision in them. So, like they were fine for demos, but he was seeing the vision in them. Like somehow he just kind of got it, and he got it in a way where it wasn't like, you should do this, I'm a producer, do this. It was as if he was a fifth member. Always, he just felt like he just kind of joined the band for 2 weeks and just like had these just ideas and wanted the best for the music, regardless of his own personal preference. Sometimes, like, you know, he would go, if he had an idea but we didn't like it, we would, you know, it's our songs, he would let us go that. But if he had an idea and he really believed in it, he would push it harder, and he really just felt like I don't know, just like another member. It's the best way to explain it.
He just fitted in so well, which then enabled us to just like put complete trust in him, which like when you're making like an album is a very difficult thing to do, because obviously like we've always done everything ourselves and we've always been like, okay, we know what we're doing this, we're doing that. To then like start letting someone else into that process is a very strange thing to do, but it just worked.
It wasn't scary. It was so easy because it was GP. And it
was nice as well because he really encouraged us to experiment. And when I say experiment, it was like, he was like, what do you want to do with this bit? How do you want to make your part iconic? How do you want it to make that? How do you want your part to shine here? And was able to push you because you knew there was lots of room for error. Because if he didn't like something, he would tell you. There was this great video where I do this random scream in the other room and he just puts on the intercom and goes, no, that was bad.
That's not good.
That's not good. And I come back in. And there's no shame because we're all just trying stuff out and seeing what happens. But it's nice to know that there's no like stressful judgment when stuff doesn't work, but also this constant encouragement to experiment with what we want to do, our ideas and our vision.
You want that encouragement, but you don't want like a yes man, like just saying, oh yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, no, he blended the two perfectly. You're right, because there's no point having a producer in the room who just says yes to all your ideas. You might as well not be there.
Yeah.
Equally, you don't want someone who's so harsh you're terrified to suggest or do anything.
It's a really hard
he did balance it so well.
Yeah. Was this not the first time you had like a third party in that kind of respect in terms of like production and stuff?
So yeah, I guess like we started the process, I guess, a few years ago where we started sending stuff off to someone to be mixed. That was Alex Archer, who's incredible. So he worked on the Flower Through Concrete double single, then an Everybody Else Smile Back album. And then we worked more closely with him on Every Moonbeam, Every Fever Dream. And he was kind of in the room there while we were recording and kind of started taking on that producer role. And again, he just like, it felt so natural and like we were able to kind of trust him. And it kind of started that process for us, I think.
But it was never to the same extent as GP, because I think when we were working with Alex, there were some things we recorded on our own because we didn't have the time or we couldn't afford to have the studio time to do it all at the same time and such kind of things. So there's always those kind of things, whereas this is the first time we were in a residential, so we had 2 weeks blocked out with GP in the studio to make this album, and so we had him there for every single second of the day. And I mean, like from like 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. it was just full days of him being there.
They were long days.
We've also worked with Stefan Abington as well, on Cassiopeia, Apathy's Worrying, and Bart Spike, which we call How to Stay Shining, the prelude to How to Build an Ocean Instructions. And so it's like you say, it's a very different situation, because with Stefan, the way he works is you go to he has his own little studio, and you go and you make these, you kind of write and record as you go constantly. And so there's a lot of synths in it and like programming at the beginning, and then you go to a studio to record all the live bits. So it's still a little bit disjointed. Whereas with this, we had the songs ready to go. We went in with them, and there was this massive chapel, this live space to go in and just record all the beautiful sounds we wanted to make. So yeah, it's definitely the first time that we had been fully immersed in a, GP calls himself a creative engineer, but that world where, you have that party constantly there from start to finish.
Was there any apprehension at the beginning before you obviously picked him to come on board? Because obviously you keep things somewhat in-house, and I guess you sometimes you can feel like pressures about these things that you've created, and you don't want the wrong person getting involved and potentially, I guess, tainting it. Or I don't know what like your mental vetting process is like to say, oh, tick that like you've got all the things here that would make us work with you, I guess.
GP it came out of nowhere. I don't know. I think our manager mentioned him
because we told of you at 6, and then it was discussed kind of in that kind of world, and GP was mentioned, and we set up that initial meeting. And I don't think we talked about it necessarily too much beforehand about what were we looking for.
I think we had we did first. Then we went down to the studio just for a day, just to like meet him, go through some of the demos. And it was just,
I think that day was so natural. The going through the demos just worked, that we didn't even really have to like do the mental checklist or pros and cons. We just all went, that was great.
It was the first call. It wasn't even like, oh, this might be the person. It was just like a hat in the ring. It was like, oh, we're just calling this person, they might help us. He wasn't even going to be the producer. He was just going to maybe be the engineer for the album. And he just said everything so right. We're like, oh, we have to meet this guy. We met him, and again, it was so natural.
I don't know if management had plans for us to meet other people if it didn't work with GP, but it just never happened because we met him. It was perfect. It was just right.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously you want someone who you gel well with. Like, part of it is obviously creating a great album and great songs, but also someone you actually enjoy working with. Like, how terrible it would have been if you walked into this like studio or whatever every day and like, God, I've got to work with this person again for X amount of time.
I mean, what's so nice about Vader and his residential is that we'd also eat together. We'd have a row, and we'd share who'd cook meals, and we'd cook dinner for each other, and we'd go into the studio and record, and then have an hour in the evening where we'd all chat, and then we'd have dinner after, and then we'd go back in the studio and do a little bit more. Like, it really was just like being as much as I imagine being in a hippie commune is like, just like chilling, being there every day, sharing things,
someone laughing. Have you seen this YouTube video recording stops? You put that on, you like,
we watched all 3 Iron Man while recording vocals. Like, they were just on, it's just kind of very just like
getting the lyrics wrong because you're too invested in what's happening in Iron Man.
Occasionally, someone would turn around to me and be like, "Oh, what do you think?" And I was like, "I've got no idea what's going on."
I know idea, but I managed to beat up that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it would have been weird if we didn't get on with GP so well. But honestly, I don't know what would have happened if it had been any different. I think that we had a bit of a tricky year before meeting up with GP regarding kind of labels and other kind of things that were leaving us feeling frustrated at the industry at large, whatever that actually means. But also we became very insular. We were a very good group, four of us. Nick's not here right now, but trust me, good group, including Nick as well. We've all been friends for so long that we have a shorthand. We can go away. We talk very openly with each other about things, and like it feels like if it went any other way, we would have all gone away and vetoed it very quickly. Mm-hmm. I think that it had to be someone who gelled with us as well as GP. Otherwise, it wasn't going to. We wouldn't have been as invested with that moment of recording.
So who was the worst cook in the band then, making the meals?
Who's the worst cook?
Actually, everyone's actually pretty good.
I'm trying to think what we all made. I know Nick made empanadas.
Oh, those empanadas
are really
good. I did fajitas one night.
Those were really great. I did the chickpea curry.
Yeah. I had a forest dinner one day.
I can say I think the best cook is Callum.
There was a time I wanted to be a chef, so I think that should be the case.
But not just because of the main meal, because I loved everyone's main meal, but also Callum would just randomly make flapjack.
We had loads of oats. We bought oats for porridge, and there was no way you were getting through 2 kilograms of oats in 2 weeks. No. And so we had loads of leftover oats, so I made flapjacks, and that was just great. It was experimenting with flapjacks, and then we'd go to the studio to sing, and then come back and experiment with flapjacks some more.
Yeah,
got to do it. I don't think we have a worst cook.
No, we're all competent chefs.
Yeah,
we like art, every aspect of our lives.
Well, I also when I was like doing my research, I came across the name Trumpet Joe. Who's Trumpet Joe?
Trumpet Joe is our friend from secondary school. So me and Iain and Nick all went to the same secondary school. Trumpet Joe was in my music class. I did GCSE music with Joe. And he is just an amazing trumpet player. I think he's been like grade 8 trumpet from like the age of like 12. Like he's just really good. And has always kind of just been like my goal of like to try and be better than. I never will be, but he's always been my kind of aim point for musicians. And he has played on every single Bears in Trees album that we've ever had. So like, from day dot, from
2000,
the album which is only on Bandcamp.
Yeah,
he played on that one. He then played on the one which followed that. Then on and everybody else from our back. And has also played in How to Build an Ocean. And it's just not a Bears in Trees album unless Trumpet Joe plays on.
There was a time we wanted Joe to kind of be more involved, be a fifth member. There are a few photos when we were playing like car park gigs in like 2017 of Joe there as well, but he never really he wasn't interested in making our kind of music, like rock music at all, or playing live in like gigs and stuff.
Yeah,
he's a classical trumpeter, I guess. So trumpetist
enjoys being a session musician.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's still like the secret fifth member. It's just studio only. Yeah.
We were literally talking about it. We were like, oh, okay, so obviously there's got to be trumpet on this record.
Yeah,
got to get Trumpet Joe, otherwise it's not a Bears in Trees album.
Yeah. Well, this album, it talks about lyrically, events in life that are important, and obviously cause change, but in a more microscope, I guess, as opposed to always like these huge major life events. So I mean, like in some of the songs you talk about, saving for your own casket is one of them, like life just being moments that pass by, drifting away from friends, and just the mundane repetitive of life, sometimes just day-to-day life. Was there anything in particular that kind of pushed you down wanting to approach that kind of concept across the record?
Interesting. I don't know if it was any specific inciting incident or anything like that. I think it's definitely always a thing in the background of all of our music. We're very kind of existential people. I think that we're always thinking about these kinds of things. when we released our last record and everybody else smiled back, that was very much an album that was the documentation of our kind of university experiences, our early 20s, our late teens, early 20s. And it was about those feelings of the best moment of your life and also the kind of the moment after. It was about those parties that felt like they could have been the end of the world, you know? And it felt very grand in that way. And so what do you do when life just continues from that moment? What's the thought process and the way that you exist after you've experienced the end of the world moment? And I think that we were really struggling for a very long time of what we wanted to write about, because we were grappling with the mundanity of life in our personal lives. And it really came to a point where we were like, okay, if we're to just go in and write about our lived experience, are people going to care about that still, even if it's not the most exciting, dramatic thing ever? But really, that's all there is, right? It's not the best and worst moments. Life is mainly that in between. And it's about finding the beauty in that in between that is really important when you want to kind of find meaning in the face of cosmic indifference, right? So I think we spoke a lot about what this record was going to be about. We were trying to come up with a theme or a message or a meaning, and it wasn't until we just started writing about and kind of mythologizing the mundane that it started to really take shape.
Am I imagining this, or did we talk about this with Jason Perry about writing small?
Yeah.
I seem to remember we had a conversation on the album I Want to Feel Calm and Henry Says. We wrote with Jason Perry, worked with McFly and McBusted and that kind of vibe. And I remember having a distinct conversation with him about writing small, about just like not trying to grandiose every moment and like making every moment the most important thing in your life. Just writing about brushing your teeth in the morning and having breakfast and that kind of thing. And just
it's something he mentioned we do a lot, where we make those small moments massive.
Yeah, and I guess like the backdrop to all of this, like writing and us as people, is like that the last few years of kind of trying to make Bears in Trees our job, which is kind of a very strange concept, but also like moving back to like our hometown of Croydon, and that's kind of the back to everything we've done in the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminded me of speaking of Croydon, like one of my favorite shows, Peep Show, is based in Croydon, and it kind of reminded me of a quote from that show where two characters, Dobby and Mark, are having a conversation in a cafe, and she's like, oh, I want to go out and live my life and travel and stuff like that. And Mark's like, well, you know, I'm living life right now. Living my life is sitting in this cafe, having a coffee and going for a walk. And it just reminded me of that. So yeah, I think that kind of echoes the idea of the album a little bit.
Well, that's exactly it, I think.
What a reference.
That is such a good reference. I guess it's interesting because it's also, I guess like that's the two distinct opinions, isn't it? It's like some days you're like, oh, I am living my life. I'm just here in Croydon. I'm getting the replacement bus service because the trams aren't working, that kind of thing. And other days it's like, oh my God, I'm still living in Croydon. I'm getting the replacement bus service because the trams aren't working. It's just two ways you view it, and it depends on the day and depends on how you're feeling and depends if it's sunny or if it's raining, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Is this your home or is this place you exist in right now?
Yeah, like this life is just so many facets of little things, and as you said before, like most of life is just these little moments that are kind of seem similar but are also like slightly different. And then life is also these big moments where you go and travel, all these major like changes happen in your life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Croydon, I know you also pay homage to it with the album cover artwork. Like little like drawings and stuff, and you also almost dox Nick with pointing to where his house is. What was it like? What's it like growing up and living in Croydon?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think for me, it was this big thing of like we never found like a music scene or anything like that. That was very important for us. There was like a couple dives that people would play shows at when we were at school, but there was never a significant space where music was happening, and so it meant that we all kind of existed quite significantly online. I think that was a significant.
That's definitely a significant act for Bears and Trees. The fact that we didn't have there wasn't much of a local scene in Croydon, that we kind of moved online, and so that is kind of how
I think part of that
we operate.
is obviously like Croydon is right on the doorstep of London, which is a massive music scene, but almost for a lot of kind of smaller people is so oversaturated. It's hard to find a local scene in it. And obviously Croydon is sort of not got its own local scene, but also part of the London scene, which doesn't have a local scene. It's a very weird.
I remember with Croydon, a lot of friends who didn't live in Croydon being like scared to go to Croydon because of all the stories that you're going to get stabbed, or you'll get attacked, or you'll get mugged, or whatever like that. I never had a fear of Croydon. Living in it your whole life is just where you live. It's like, I'll go into Croydon whatever time of the day. I don't care if it's dark or hoodie. I don't have a fear of Croydon because it's just where I am. And so there was always that, I don't know, Croydon always had that bad rep, which kind of always made you love it more if you're from it, because it's just like, oh, it's Croydon.
It's hard. I always find it difficult when people ask. I used to ask people this all the time, like, what's it like growing up in X place?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. It's all I know, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's good bits and there's bad bits, but I'm kind of unaware of it because they are just the background of my existence.
So what would you say are good bits of Croydon? If someone was to visit Croydon, where should they go in Croydon?
Well, our regular haunts. The Oval Tavern.
The Oval Tavern's lovely, fantastic pub, right
also,
up
by Croydon
features
Station.
in Peep Show.
Also features in Peep
And
Show.
is in Peep
They
Show.
have constant really bizarre live music events there.
Yeah.
There'll be there's drag nights there and stuff like that. I don't know where. I mean, we
go to Ludicrous.
Ludicrous
Which is a
lovely
board game cafe.
Yeah.
Kind of in the center of Croydon. We very much like there.
Cool.
The thing is, I immediately think of like the car parks that we used to skate on, or that we used to try and set fires on, and I think of the IKEA is really great. So Croydon has an IKEA that has these. It used to be a power plant or something.
Yeah.
So it has these massive cooling towers.
There's two really big towers with IKEA colours on the top.
Colours on the top, right? The blue and the yellow.
I believe it was the first IKEA in the UK.
Well, there we go.
That's a fun fact.
And from that assumption,
so I never knew that. I always thought that every IKEA had those cooling towers. I thought that they were a staple of IKEA.
Yeah.
So when I went to another IKEA, I was like,
where are the towers?
Where are the towers?
How do you know where IKEA is if you don't have the towers to tell you?
Those are a fantastic landmark. I mean, like, are they?
Sky.
I mean, but the car park of IKEA that Stormzy filmed a music video for Not That Deep there, as did Big Shaq filmed. Well, it wasn't Big Shaq. It was one of Michael Dapper's, one of his other personas. Balenciaga was filmed there. Fantastic spot for culture.
Yeah.
I would say Fairfield Halls because when we were growing up, we always used to go to pantomimes at Fairfield Halls. We used to, sing there with the
bootleg Beatles.
The bootleg Beatles. but they had this massive refurb, and I've not been in there since.
I saw they've got Cold Place.
Cold Place.
Oh,
I can't wait. Let's go.
Wow.
But, it's one of the greenest boroughs of London, I think. So we've got like Forest, we've got Park, we've got
trams.
The best. The best frisbee golf course in the UK is in Lloyd Park, Croydon.
There you go.
You like frisbee golf?
And if this is an advert for Croydon, nothing will be.
I was going to say, that's just you should just work in travel. I think you've sold it.
Yeah. If Bears and Trees doesn't work, if the album flops, we're going.
Every time someone I know, every time I bring someone to Croydon, they're always amazed at the trams. We don't have the tube because we have bad soil.
Yeah, it's too chalky. It's too chalky around here.
I think it's
Chalky.
Clay,
clay is the bad bit.
It's clay and chalky. No cheese down here.
Well, if that doesn't sell it to anyone, then I don't know what will. So, so who came up with the dance routine for Hot Chocolate? How did that happen?
The dance routine for Hot Chocolate.
Lovely.
We basically wanted to make a music video that was just a standard hunky music video. But we were like this synth solo in the middle is just so iconic that we want to really highlight it, and we wanted to do a dance routine for it because it's such a weird moment in the song. So we were like, okay,
Who do we know
who is a choreographer? And me and Callum went to primary school with this person, Tajana. And since primary school, she has gotten into choreography throughout her time at university, was doing lots of choreographing, dancing, And so I was just like,
Why
let's
not?
just see if
We just messaged on Instagram. So someone we've known since we were 5 years old. We were on a chance, like, haven't really spoken
in a long
at
while.
all in probably years. Like, we went to different secondary schools, uni. Go back in touch on Instagram. It's like, yo, do you want to choreograph a dance for our song? And she was just like, yeah, let's do it. So it was a lovely reunion after like 10 years, and we did this dance together in it.
Yeah,
it's a lovely moment, and we're gonna do it on the live set.
Yeah.
So we've put it into the show. So when we play the song live, we will do that dance as well with full boy band era.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you do call yourselves, is it Dirtbag Boy Band? So hats up. Yeah. I also saw you've got a competition going for when people pre-order the album, and then you get like an acoustic set in their house or wherever they want the set to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about?
Our manager Jamie also manages Sigma, the DJ duo.
Right.
They ran a competition where you go and they will do a house party in your house.
Yeah.
Just turn up with the DJ decks and do a house party. And he was like, you should do the same thing.
So we straight up stole the idea.
And so we were like, well, we can't just turn up with DJ decks because we're not DJs. So we thought, so it kind of just morphed into this. We would turn up and do an acoustic house show for people.
Yeah.
And we thought about it for a while because we were like, how do we put this in a way which is like fun and cool and not kind of weird?
Right.
And it just seems to work. People seem to just go like, this is ridiculous but kind of brilliant at the same time. I really hope we end up at like someone's uni halls.
Yeah.
I really want to, like, I don't know, we obviously don't know who's going to win it, but just like hope we end up in just like, I don't know, just like some random like Nottingham uni halls. I'm just in a kitchen and just like, that's going to be so funny.
It's where all our first initial shows were, like Nick's front room, our friend Mikey's front room, like you know,
Sainsbury's car park.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in a way, you could go back to your roots a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah. I think it's gonna be great fun.
Yeah. And speaking of playing live, you've got a tour across the UK and Europe, obviously in support of the record. How are you feeling about that? Are you all prepared to hit the road?
I love being on tour.
Yeah. We haven't done a UK headline. We did one November. Like 2022, so a long time ago.
2022?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh my gosh, it was 2022.
Yeah, but that was kind of like lots of like places dotted around, so there was no like huge London show or anything. So
last time we did a big London show, headline was February 22, so it's been a while. I'm excited. We've never been able to break into mainland Europe before. We've done Ireland a couple shows, but never been in mainland Europe playing shows, and that is just so exciting.
Yeah.
That to me is like a bit of a bucket list thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
You try and take some time off each day trying to like explore the area a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can.
We should have the morning in most places to have a wander around before sound check and kind of see some stuff. So yeah, should be good fun.
Yeah. And speaking of shows, you've also got 2,000 Trees and Reading Leeds in the summer, which is massive. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, bucket list.
Yeah.
Very excited.
How are you feeling about being on the same bill as like bands like Blink-182 and stuff?
Yeah. Crazy.
It's mind-boggling because I don't think about it like that until I've not
until
thought about it like that until this moment. It is nuts. It is nuts. Yeah.
It's also nuts on the same stage as us. I think on the same is Wombats a headline in the Radio 1 stage on the day we were on, and that is for us is like a kind of a bucket list band to we all went to see them in Brixton.
They're like one of the only bands that we all agree on.
Yeah. So that's a real, like, definitely like a real moment. Yeah, it's such a crazy. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I haven't quite, because the tour's been coming up. I mean, once the tour's over, I'll be like, okay, festival season. Oh, Reading and Leeds. I've just kind of seen the poster. Amazing. Haven't quite gone too deep into thinking about it yet because I think otherwise it would terrify me.
Unless it's currently happening, my brain doesn't comprehend it as being real. This is my main issue. So tour never feels real until we're on it, and these shows won't feel like they're ever going to happen until we are
in a van on the way to
I can get that. You don't want the pressure to overcome you until preferably not on stage because
well, once you're on stage you say fight or flight. You're either playing the show or you're off, so hopefully fight wins.
And what else have you got planned for 2024 so far that you can talk about? Obviously, there were some big moments, but what else is going on?
so many plans.
I don't know if we can.
What can we talk about?
I think we can definitely say we're gonna get out to America again.
Yeah.
I definitely planning to do Northern Ireland again, and some more UK shows. Might be a little Christmas show planned for the end of the year. We'll see how that pans out. No promises, but
no promises about anything ever.
And then hopefully 2024. I'm saying new music.
Do you mean 2025?
2025. I don't know. I'm terrible at years. 2025 is new music.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much all for coming on. I really appreciate your time. Best of luck with the album and the tour. Before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, any final words? Anything you want to say or plug? Floor's yours.
Just listen to How to Build an Ocean instructions. It's
honestly
our favorite record we've ever made, and we think you're going to like it.
Yeah, we've put a lot of love into it, and we hope you love it too.
Awesome. Well, I've heard it. It's a great record, and everyone else should listen to it too. So, yeah, best of luck, and hopefully catch you soon.
Hell yeah, thank you so much.
Of course,
Thanks for having us.
Take care. Bye. And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Not a Phase. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Follow the podcast on social media, and maybe even join the Patreon or grab some merch from the store. You can find everything that you need at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again. Hopefully catch you on the next one. And remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.